consecutive games.
Well, no, we got Wyoming on Saturday, and that's all we care about. That's it. But yeah, absolutely, you got great opportunities and great. This one playing at Wyoming is it's always a huge challenge. Linder's a great coach. They got great players, and they're playing. I think this team looks like they're clicking, and they've had, just like any of us on the road, they've had ups and downs on the road, but they've been terrific at home.
We talked about a Nevada loss there, Colorado State loss there. I mean, is there something to playing there that makes it tough to win? There, or is it just
yeah. Number one, it starts. Think about the lineage of coaches that I've seen there. Great coaches. Now Linder's there, and you got great players, and then you got altitude is always a factor, and it's real. People. There's some teams that can deal with it better than others, and some teams I've had that deal with it better than others. But playing at altitude presents some certain challenges.
This time of year, you're usually facing teams for the second time. What's the challenges right now? Just not having seen them, not having played them against them.
Yeah, it's but we're at this time of year. The crossover is so much that I think I've probably watched every one of their games. Because you're playing all the teams they played. You're watching all their games. You just watch every Mountain West game, and so now, but our guys aren't as familiar as our coaching staff, and so you got to get them up to speed on their guys. When you're playing a team the second time, these guys have guarded these guys already, and there is a big difference that way. So we got to get up to speed in a hurry.
Like many teams, Wyoming's played better at home than they have on the road. So as you look at them, what have they been able to do at home? What makes them a better home team?
I just think you could say a general statement that is usually true with every team is teams shoot the ball. They're comfortable in their own surroundings and their own. So, their teams have historically relied on the three a lot. And so if they're making a lot of threes, they can beat anybody.
They got a couple of better guards in the league, too.
Yeah.
What stands out about them?
Well, they're just ballers, Linder is good at finding ballers. And these guys, they've hit game winners. They've had huge numbers on nights. And they got a number of guys that can really fill it up.
It seems like some fans, I'd say whatever, would use the dreaded word trap game, but with your guys and the focus and where it is at the end of the season, where you're at this point in the season, and who's already won there, it doesn't seem like that would be a thing.
You would absolutely hope not, and the way we've approached these last two games, you could say that those were trap. You'd say they fit the same criteria. Now this one's on the road, so that has a little different to it, but this time of year you could say that almost about every game, except for maybe the last couple or whatever, senior nights and things like that. So I don't, that could not be an excuse for us, and it won't be, and I don't see that in my team.
We talked about, with Tyson earlier in the year, not having to play like the five as much this year and things like that. And you look at him now, he looks like as fresh as ever, maybe even getting stronger. What do you just think of the way that, the way that he looks right now and the way that he's playing right now?
Yeah, those are great points, Jay Tust. He is bouncing around pretty good, and he's almost got this Tim Duncan thing going. That can't remember who even said that to me, but it was Kobe Carl. We were talking about it, and you drive to the gym. Tim Duncan was going to get between 15 and 20 and 12 and 8. And if he played good, it was going to be more. We got that going with Tyson right now, and it's almost like a Duncan-esque where it's just boring, but when a guy's getting 15 and 10 every night, that's not boring. That's pretty awesome. And he's playing at a high level, and he just, the cool thing about the other night, we got up big early. Those games can become thirst traps, where guys like, okay, I'm not going to get to play the whole second half. I got to get some shots up. Our guys don't play that way. And, that you have to fight human nature. You have to fight because scorers want to score, and guys that are good at scoring usually want to score. These guys keep making the right plays over and over again. Those guys are doubling our posts consistently, and our posts aren't forcing stuff. They're getting our guys great shots, and you look at our box score, the shots were all spread out, pretty even, and there was just unselfish basketball from start to finish.
You more like the Heisman Trophy, right? It's so difficult for somebody to win it twice because everybody wants to fall in love with the new candidate, right? As you said, Tyson's so consistent, he's almost boring.
Right.
But you look at like points per game in league play, like he's not far behind Ledee at this point.
I know.
So where do you think Tyson should be in that?
He should,
phase?
he's certainly in the conversation. I mean, you got us that were tied for first in the, whatever you want to call it, or in the loss column, and the guy, like you said, that's right there in scoring and doing all the other, and then we all know how many intangibles he does. So, yeah, he should be in that discussion, and no one's really said that, no doubt, except for the incomparable Jay Test.
Yeah, right. What about him getting to the line a little bit more lately too? These last couple of games. I mean, that obviously is going to help scoring totals as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that because he really passes up the good shot for the great shot. We had a play in the second half where we threw it into Omar. It was kicked out. God, we made 2 extra passes, threw it to Tyson. He was open in the corner, could have taken the 3, but he drove it in and got the layup, but missed the layup, and Omar got the putback. Yeah, and that's just Tyson, his unselfishness. Like, he could have let that one rip, and he's putting pressure on the defense with his drives, and then putting good players in foul trouble because of the amount of contact he creates.
We talked about the 41 points the last 2 games from your bench. With the elevation and all that stuff, I mean, the next 2 games, the highest 2 in college basketball elevation-wise, I mean, how much will you lean on your bench a little more maybe in these 2 games?
Yeah, you hope to get a ton out of them, and we've seen progress there, so that's promising. And, if you study what I've done in the past at those places, I've usually leaned on the bench, and there's been guys that came in and really helped us and had huge games in those nights. So
When you say you lean, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you about that because you do, like, really early in games at times go to the bench and everyone's like, Devin or Dutrieve now? Like, oh, this guy now? Like, I mean, what is it about how you've figured out a plan there? Because you guys have played pretty well there.
Yeah, we do. You have to have a different system there. And I learned that. You go way back to my days at Gonzaga when we played Wyoming in Albuquerque, and we had an injury, so we were down to about 5 or 6 guys, and we skipped a media timeout, and we never recovered. Our starting 5 never recovered. In fact, Coach Few and I were young coaches, and Billy, and they skipped the first media, got to about the 12-minute mark, finally had a horn, we subbed a bunch of guys in, and we look out, play starts, and we look out there, and we had 4 guys out there. Nobody else had enough energy to keep going. We played an NCAA tournament game for a minute or 2 with 4 guys. How about that? Yeah.
Anything else you guys do to kind of prepare for
So I learned from that, and it's.
But it would seem like earlier in the game, though, that like the guys, they don't feel it till the end. So maybe they feel fresh at the 8-minute mark of the first half or whatever, but that's when you have to plan ahead. Okay, there's 20 more minutes.
Yeah, but
right?
there's other things to it that,
Yeah.
we have a secret formula that I can't tell anyone that obviously works.
anything else you
Because
guys?
everyone copies it. I see other teams saying, "Oh, we drink beet juice." I wonder where that came from, huh? Yeah.
You go and get to Air Force after it, and it's about 2,000 different. Isn't Colorado Springs
No.
about 2,000
No.
less?
It's
It's
not.
like 500 or something. It's pretty close.
Yeah,
Air Force is that
It's
high?
number 2 in the nation right
Yeah.
now.
Okay, but let's say, you go somewhere and maybe it's Colorado State. How much different can you feel between if it's 1,000 different or 2,000?
I don't think that
much.
Yeah, it's when you go from maybe sea level to that's a huge
Is
difference.
there also part of not wanting to make it too big of a deal, though, or it's like
Right,
psychological?
but I threw that out the window in the days of when you're sitting there, and they're announcing that you might die, and your players are looking at you like, "Coach, I might die? You didn't tell me about that." So I'd rather err on the side of talking about it and understanding what your mind has to be ready to do and how to do it, and giving them a process of how we do it, and then the way we go.
Do you bring
Anything-
an elevation machine in practice like you used
We
to?
do. We bring the elevation machine. That's right.
Who was the player that thought they might die?
Who would that be?
Oh, I had a few of those. Back in the day. And
I
I'll
can just see, like,
bet,
Derek
I'll
Marks
bet,
looking over
I'll
at
bet your guesses were right.
Yeah.
What's the elevation machine?
It's a machine that we use at practice we
Yeah.
turn it on and it helps
Oh,
us.
gotcha.
It's like a bubble leaker.
Yes, it's kind of.
But I kind of asked you this after the game, but 12 is like 50% from 3 over these last 7 games. The volume is massive. Just what do you think of the way that he's shooting right now?
Well, they're going in. I always support that. J-test.
You also kind of brought this up after the game, but when he's going, what builds off of that? Like there was I believe it was in the first half, he caught a ball pretty open on the kind of the right wing. And like I think he thought about shooting and he kicked it over to Buzo, and Buzo was wide open. So just what is the byproduct?
Well,
of doing
that's the beauty of it is they're desperate to get to him. Well, then it was Buzo to him to back to Buzo, and that's just so unselfish that they get each other. That was probably the good shot for Buzo at first, to a good shot for Max, to a great shot for Buzo, and that's what makes you a great team when you're willing to do that. Because Max could have shot that, and that was a really good shot, but Buzo's was a great one, and that's why that's what's making you better. Good.